welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. It's 2021, our first show of the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Natalie.
Happy New Year, John.
Happy New Year, Amber.
Happy New Year.
And Robin, Happy New Year.
Robin, Happy New Year.
Natalie, how was your birthday, first of all? January the 1st.
Yeah, New Year's Day. So, I mean, obviously, I know you did the final show, but obviously I was busy. It was very hectic. I live with 3 people, so we tried to keep it as party-ish as possible, I suppose, and I had a good one. It was nice, lasted a few days, but now, back to normal. Can't wait to start the new year and start watching the girls again.
That's it. And don't forget New Year's Day, you would have saw our men's team go join top of the league with Liverpool, so that was a nice little birthday present for you as well. If anybody missed that show, please just have a check. Just go back through the All For United channel. It was a funny show. It was a bit more informal. We was having a bit to drink, and it was a good show. So please check that out. Amber, how are you keeping, mate?
We've been good, haven't we? We've been watching the girls every Sunday. We're watching the lads as well. We've had a quite all right time, haven't we? Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Look, we're going to talk about a rumour that's going around social media today regarding Tottenham wanting one of our strikers. It could be right. We'll talk about that shortly. Yeah. We'll talk about Preston Heath. We'll talk about Leah Galton. It's going to be very focused on our strikers today. So that's what I'm going to do. Nat, would you mind leading this conversation then regarding who
it's not... I'm going to say I heard it through the grapevine, but I think with women's football, when you hear things, it's usually true, especially if you hear it from numerous people that are high up, it's usually true. So I've sort of heard a couple of people talking. Alex Morgan was playing for Spurs. She's an experienced striker. Yes, she only got a couple of game times, but obviously I think they potentially wanted her to stay, and I think their manager said as much. And now I think they're looking for an experienced striker to replace her. And obviously, we've got a striker on the bench who comes on now and then, but she's very experienced in the WSL, and that's Jane Ross. And, I've heard, like I say, through the grapevine, through other people, I'll probably get in trouble, but they might be interested. I'm not saying it's official. I'm not saying it's confirmed, but all I'm saying is what I've heard. And, for me, I think it'll be a good move for her. I mean, we talked about it before. She'll get a game time. She's probably not getting as much as she wants at United. So to be that star striker at Spurs, who probably would play more the style that she's used to, play into the box a lot more. I know they've got Rihanna Dean, but she's just not had a lot of minutes. So I think they need someone to replace Alex Morgan. Yes, she's not Alex Morgan, but she'll do a job for them. So I think, it'd be good for her. What's everyone else think?
Go on, Amber.
I think she would be a fantastic move for her personally, because she's a cup player, isn't she? She's a Conti Cup player, because she won't get ahead of Press, Russo, even Sigsworth and James. I can't see getting ahead of them unless they're injured, which they currently are. But I think any team in the WSL would be glad to have her for her experience. I mean, watching her when she played for Manchester City, she was fantastic. And to have that sort of player on your team is just as good as having someone like Alex Morgan on your team. So I reckon Spurs will be a good signing for her. Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of like her kind of level then, Amber, with Jane Ross at the moment? So obviously Tottenham, they're not going to get relegated, looking at where they are in the league table and how many points off. But they're also not going to really challenge for the top 4. Do you think that's kind of where Jane Ross is in her career now?
I would say so, yeah. She's down to the later stages of her career. To succeed at Tottenham, I'd say that would be a successful end for her.
And not just to clarify, is it like a loan deal, or is it actually like a sale, or do we know?
Well, I think she's on a contract till the end of the summer. So if she did go in January, it would be a sale. Whether they want to buy her now or whether they'd want to wait, you don't know. I don't think they're the only club that are interested in it. I do think, like what you just said about Spurs, a club that, we're at the top now. We're competing. We've got Preston Heath. I know we're going to talk about it. We've got Russo scoring loads of goals. So I think, it's going to be harder for her. I mean, Fuso's only got a few minutes and she looks lively. She looks like she wants to make movement. And I think that's the way we want to play now. Whereas someone, like I say, Tottenham, even, going back to West Ham, she did really well there. Something like that. Whoever's sort of looking at her, Brighton, it'd be good for her because, like you say, if a team needs goals, and Jane Ross, she's proven she can score them goals. But I think, with the strikers that we do have now, potentially, a sale or anything, just cancel her contract and let her go because, we needed her at the time where we just needed to consolidate. And now there are other teams in that league that just want to sort of consolidate. Whereas we're potentially looking at, sitting top, looking at winning the league, and maybe she's not there or she thought she would be a lot more there. But I can only say what I've heard. So we'll have to wait and see on it, whether it comes true or not. And then if it does, everyone can say I heard it on All for United. So,
is anybody else surprised when they heard that news? Because I'll be honest, I was surprised at the timing. I was thinking, okay, me and Nat was speaking about it this morning. We expect people to come and go in the summer, and potentially Jane Ross would have been one of those that would end up leaving, as we've kind of discussed already. Maybe her level now isn't challenging for top four; it's more like mid-table. But for me, I was only discussing on the show on New Year's Eve about just potentially needing strikers, not permanently, but just to see us through the season, because LJ hasn't been as fit this season. Jess has been in and out. Russo has obviously been injured. Press was off ill and still hasn't reached top form, and I'm sure there's others that are missing as well. To me, it's kind of like took me a little bit by surprise. How about yourself, Ambz? Did you see the timing like as a bit of a surprise?
Well, I found it all big. I'd say her leaving isn't much of a surprise, but rather the team that going to, I wouldn't have thought Tottenham would have gone in for her, but not much of a surprise, to be honest. Kind of on the fringes sort of player.
Yeah, I think that's about right, isn't it, really? Because she's not like, you can't have her definitely on the right wing because there's 2 or 3 other options maybe before her. And the same as up front, she's a good squad player and she's playing more. I'm sure she's featured more than LJ, Jess and Ivana this season already. She had a big part to play at the start of the season. She did well. There's no denying about that. But now that the rest of the guys are getting fitter and playing more, I can kind of see why it's happening. But obviously, we might have some more information by our Thursday show. So maybe just tune in, and by then we may have heard something. So please keep in, check that show out. Last time Ambz was on the show, it was our very first show. I put a little tweet out earlier with my very first clip. That first show had 1,500 views, Ambz, which is 4 times the amount of any other show that we've done. So it shows that, like, at the start, people was really interested in seeing what we're saying, especially with Preston Heath. Just briefly, before we go into detail on Preston Heath, how do you think they've both done just since the last time you was on the show?
I think he's done fantastic. I thought she struggled because of the last couple of years of her at Portland Thorns. She kind of declined a lot. But at United, I think she's done fantastic. I think she's been haunting the nightmares of left backs and right backs and centre backs everywhere. Whereas with Press, I think because she's played on the wing for so long, I think she's been playing on the wing since 2016 with Jill Ellis. Going back into the middle and integrating as a out-and-out striker has been a bit of a struggle for her. But hopefully, she's only played, I think, 5 games. Hopefully in the new year, she'll hit the ground running and bang them in for fun, like she was doing at Chicago.
Yeah, and with that, that is like a question I was going to ask anyway regarding Press. The last 3 or 4 months has been like some debate on whether she should go out wide or start in the centre. Have you got any opinion on that at all, Ambz, at all?
It's difficult because obviously with how good Heath and how good Galton's been, I don't think there's a place for her on the wing at the moment. but we have an out-and-out striker. There's no one that stays in the box. I mean, when Lauren James starts, it's like a Wayne Rooney type of player. She'll go all the way back to the centre backs to get the ball because she wants to be on the ball all the time. You've not got a Cavani that stays at the front and just bangs them in. But with press, she just needs to get back to doing that like she did for Chicago.
Yeah, Nat, I can see you nodding.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, Ambz. There's a bit of a delay as well, so bear with me. Nat, would you put her up front? I kind of agree with what Ambz's saying there. There's a lot of competition out wide, and Russo isn't fully fit yet. We've seen him in training, doing some sprinting. We saw some pictures there, but you got to put her up front, haven't you, at the moment? I would have thought. Yeah,
press. I know, I've been in these debates where they've said, I know Leah didn't really start the season well, but she's coming. Oh, she is absolutely smashing it now. So Leah has to be on the left. I think Tobin has to be on the right. So obviously that position for press is up front. And then people have sort of said, oh, well, if you play press, then she's better. No, Leah starts, like, that's it for me. She's our MVP, And I think press can do it. I think the best game I saw of press was versus Arsenal. There was a few crosses into the box. There's a chance that she had. And I think the minute she gets that one goal, I think all the goals will come. And I think, potentially with Russo coming back now, like you say, she's posting a lot of pictures. She's in and around the training ground. I think it's going to put that pressure on press. Not saying that she can't handle it. She's used to pressure. But I think it's just going to put that added competition. Like Russo is sort of, with all the crosses that we do, the way that Leah plays, the way that Tobin plays, it's sort of, from what I've seen of the two, it's sort of more suited to Russo's kind of game. Press will be in and around, but I think Press even said herself, she has to learn. It's a different kind of striker, different kind of centre-back in this league. They're stronger, they sit, whereas I think the defences probably go a bit more forward in the, it's a higher line, for example, in the NWSL, whereas I think, teams like Brighton, Bristol, they're all going to sit deep. They're all going to, put 10 people around you. And I think just to learn to play against that kind of thing, bully them more, push them out of the way. We've seen that she's got a few yellow cards, but just keep on doing it because I think they'll eventually realise, well, I think they already know, give you space and you'll score, but it's just about claiming that space, taking over, dominating the defenders. I'm sure she can do it, and I'm sure we'll see some good performances from her this season.
Do you think she just needs a run of games? Because I think we were very inconsistent in our front three at the start. Like at the start of the season, like I say, Jane Ross played a few games. Russo was playing out wide and then down the centre. I think at the start, because of injuries and whatever reason, we didn't really know who our front three was. Do you think, Nat, if Press just plays constantly up front with Heath and Galton either side of her, that is a devastating front three?
Yeah.
It's surely going to happen, isn't it? We're going to see goals from everywhere, surely.
Yeah, and I think potentially that's what she might start with versus Everton. I don't think Russo's back yet, but I think, we sort of know what our midfield three is. We know what our defence is. It's just, like you say, that front, who's going to play. But I think for me now, it's Tobin and then Leah on the wings. So, yeah, Press is back fit now. She played a couple of... no, she didn't play, but she got... she was in amongst the team just before they went off. She's had a good rest. It's been her birthday. They're saying how happy they are. Bang, put them in versus Everton. That's the front three I want to see versus Everton, the one you just said. And I think, we know what Leah can do against Everton, so I think the rest of them will just tear it up.
Amber, what about yourself? Do you think that she could come straight back into that starting 11, or do you think she has to work her way back in there if Russo's fully fit? I mean, only Casey will know, obviously, at the time, should Russo get in there ahead of Press? I know it's a hard debate to have, but based on form, maybe?
Are you asking us?
Yeah, sorry, Amber.
The thing you went, we lost the connection. Sorry, we lost connection.
That's okay.
Good. You say should Russo start ahead of Press?
No, Russo. Alessia Russo.
Oh, Russo. Ooh. Well, Russo's been really impressive, hasn't she? Especially in the air. She's the type of player that stays in the box. She's the type of player that knows where the ball's going to be before anybody else knows. She knows not to come back to get the ball. She knows front, because the ball behind from Heath, the ball's in behind from Groningen. Fantastic. I would say integrate her back into the team because she did have that quite bad injury. But fully fit, I would probably start Russo ahead of Press. As much as it pains me to say.
look, that's not a bad substitution to come off the bench. You know, if Press is coming off, or even if Press was to start and then Russo was to come on, you know, that's the level that we need to be at, and that's the level that we are at, and that's just the centre forward position. And then out wide, we've mentioned Galton and Heath. We've got Hansen there as well. You know, we have got players who are fully covered when they are fit. And then the more we talk about it now, I can kind of understand why Jane Ross might not be needed. So it kind of shows that Casey must be very happy with the fitness levels of the front players as well. So yeah, I think we're all probably in agreement with that. Amber, talk to me a little bit about Tobin Heath then, because she's had a fantastic start to the season with United. Was you surprised how quickly she hit the ground running? Because not only is she playing well, you know, she's arguably player of the season. She's scoring, she's assisting, she's leading. Every fan that we've had on the channel is loving Tobin Heath. Any surprises at all, Amber?
I would say so. She's changed a lot of the games since the time at Portland Thorns with the US Women's National Team. Like, watching a lot of the games, what she used to do is get the ball on the left-hand side, a couple of yards up the field, and then she stopped and pass back. That was her time at Portland. That's what she used to do. And so I thought, under Casey wouldn't be happy with that. It'd be a case of get in the box, run ahead of your defender. You're betting half the right backs, half the left backs, half the centre backs in the league. Just go at them. And she has. And I think she's improved so much in the 4 or 5 months that she's been at United than what she has in the past 4. So I would say I am quite surprised because I thought she would struggle.
Yeah, I remember us having that first chat on the first episode that we did. And I know that you're probably more in favour of Press more than Tobin, but that's just because of how fond you are of Press, nothing against Tobin. But I do think that because Tobin's had like more game time as well, I think that's probably helped her. And it's kind of what I was touching on earlier with Kristen not actually playing week in, week out. I'm sure if she was playing week in, week out, she could quite easily be at Tobin's level. How about the Tobin Heath and MUWFC debate? I mean, where do you stand there on how well Tobin's played compared to MUWFC? Because a lot of the WSL are probably favouring MUWFC. I'm sure you would favour Tobin, but what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, if it wasn't for MUWFC, City wouldn't be where they are now. Like, she's carried that team on her back for the first half of the season. I think in terms of with Tobin, I think she has had an impact, not as much as MUWFC, because we've not had to Tobin's coattails. We've not had to jump on her back and say, goal scorer is a goal. You know, we've got other players that can do that around her. So I'd say as an impact player, I will go for MUWFC. But as an all-round team player, I'd go for Tobin.
I think we were saying the same, weren't we, Nat, last week or whenever it was. I just think that, MUWFC stands out quite a lot in the City team because she's probably doing a lot better than the rest of the teammates, whereas Tobin's lifted everybody with her. And I think that's why there's a difference. Do you want to add to that, Nat?
Yeah, well, I'd say the one game where we've had to say to Tobin, can you please score as a goal, was a City game. and she scored that rocket. But like you say, isn't it? You see MUWFC and, she saved them versus whoever, Reading, this team, that team, and she scored that goal. But then after that, it's just like, all right, like, we're done. We'll get this draw. We ain't get nothing else. Whereas I think once Tobin scored that goal, that rocket in the derby, it was like, bang, right, we're going to win this. And you could just see, bang, the switch went in everyone's head, and it was, we're going to win this. And then it was cut, boom, 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 pepper them 2-2. And, God, we should have I've said on the Barmy Army podcast, we should have really gone on and beat them, by the end of it. But that's where she's taken us. She's taken us from, not really. I think she's like, a lot of the young ones are looking at her and thinking, I need to do this. I need to be like her. I need to take this team. And she says, I took responsibility and I scored that goal. And I just love when the players, it's my job to do this. And, it's not just my job to sort of add that experience, add that mentality change kind of thing. It's, my job to score. And that's what you want to hear from all your players. And, she really took it that game. And, she, for me, she's the reason we got that point, because she changed the whole game. I mean, everyone did, but just that one goal, that's the goal of the season for me so far.
Well, I think it was the other goal. Was it a couple of weeks ago? I can't remember who it was against. It was just a couple of weeks ago, but basically it was a left foot first time hit just outside the box. So that was my favourite, along with that
Bristol it was.
Yeah, Bristol, of course it was, yeah. So yeah, that was a quality goal. But yeah, I mean, for me, it looks like that she's actually enjoying it, and she's still got a lot more to give. I feel like that. Looking at her and the way she's performing, she's enjoying it. Everything's working for her, and she's still got a lot more knowledge to give. And it seems like that she wants to give it as well. So to me, like I say, if we get to keep it for that one more season as well, it's just going from strength to strength at the moment. Who knows how far she could potentially take us, because everything that she's doing is doing brilliantly well. Look, I want to move on to Leah Galton. So we spoke about starting, front three, our attackers. Leah Galton's got to be in there. What more does Leah Galton have to do to win over fans who probably aren't Man United supporters, just the WSL fans from America? Because I guarantee if Press, Heath and Galton were all American and they all come over together, everyone will be raving about Galton as much as the other two. But it seems that because Galton goes under the radar, she doesn't play international football, she's not out there as much as Press and Heath. It seems like I say, she just goes under the radar a little bit. I think lately people are starting to take a bit of notice. But Ambz, let's move to yourself and Robin. Leah Galton this season has just been absolutely amazing, I think.
Leah Galton.
I'd say she's get bullied a lot.
Well, Leah Galton, I think it's hard because she plays for Man United. She plays for the most hated club in world football. I think the thing that she's got to do to finally be noticed and finally be appreciated is probably cure COVID. That's the only way people actually think, do you know what, she's actually quite all right.
Yeah.
But I'd say she's the best left-footed player in the league. 100%. She's the best left-footed player in the league. She needs to work on her right foot, because whenever it goes onto her right foot, she's not gonna shoot. She's not gonna cross. She's not gonna do anything dangerous with it. She's gonna pass it back. So she just needs to learn how to use her right foot. But I think she also needs to shoot a lot more outside the box. You see those couple of goals against Bristol. She's got a monster of a left foot on her. I've not seen a left foot like that since Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, I hinted on that as well about a week or two ago, because I always say I always expect something to happen when she's on the ball, but not necessarily her scoring goals. But recently she has been scoring goals as well. Natalie, I know that you're a big fan of Galton as well, but
yeah,
what's next for Leah Galton? Because what more can she do?
Listen, there's people, right, that put people like. I'm not saying these two players are not good, but they played for England. They put Chloe Kelly and they put Beth Mead above Galton. And for me, they do that because those two girls play for England. But what people don't realise is that Leah was asked to play for England before Kelly was. So Leah wants to focus on her time at the club. She's not ready yet to go around the world all the time. Fair play to Chloe Kelly. She's smashing it. But that's the thing now. I think that Leah's got that confidence. Take that shot the way she did versus Bristol. I mean, the both of them, she says the second one was a cross. Should have just said it was a shot because, no one would have said shit to her because that's what everyone was saying in the end. It's a shot. The way she's done it, the way she celebrated. Should have said it was a shot. But I think now she's coming out and going, yep, we can win the league. We can do this. We can do that. You can just see it all building up. You can see it building up. And taking them shots now. And people will start to realise once they see those screamers going in the back of the net, when they see her name always on the score sheet. And it's like I said, John, remember when I said Casey won the thing? She's done it so much, they can't ignore her anymore. And now it's going to be Leah. She's going to take all these shots, she's going to score these goals, and people won't be able to ignore her. Yeah,
thoroughly. And you said that there about wanted to win the league, and she was the first one who's publicly that I've heard has gone out and said, and I know as soon as she said it, she thought to herself, oh, I don't know if I should have said this or not. But it was an interview after the game, and she said that I think that that we can do it. The interviewer said, do what? And she laughed and said, win the league or something along them lines or come top. Trust me, the guys are thinking about this, aren't they? They're thorough. It's in their mind whether or not they like to admit it or not. And Galton's going to play a big part in that, whether it be goals, assists, coming off the bench or whatever. I mean, where do you see Galton, Amber, going forward for the rest of the season? Can you see her staying on the left-hand side, or when everyone's fit, can you see her going back to left back? Or she's doing everything this season by the looks of it.
I don't think it would be a good idea to make a change of position. I think she's been the most informed player out of anyone on the pitch. She's one of those players where if you give the ball, something will happen. And if you change her now, put her at left back again, you're potentially taking away your playmaker to put her in a position that she's not bad at, but it's not her position. But, I mean, you can see how good she is, how targeted she is. I mean, how many games did we have on the run where a red card challenge was done against Leah Galton? Because, oh, shit, the fullback. Was it Arsenal, City, Bristol, all red card challenges because they know she's the danger player. She's the Ronaldo, she's the Messi. You get to her, you've got to United. And I think she has to stay in the position that she's in now because there's no one on that team that's as good as her at the moment. What do you think?
I agree thoroughly, yeah. Go on, Robin.
Oh.
I like her.
He just likes her. Robin's favourite player. Whenever she gets kicked on the pitch, she's up screaming at the TV. Whenever she scores, it's always her showing the back of her shirt off like that.
It's a good choice. Obviously, I mentioned on pretty much every episode that I've been on how much I like Leah Galton. And she's excited. She makes things happen. She can run with the ball. She can score. She can pass. Now we can see that she scores outside the box. She can run into the box and score. She gets stuck into tackles. They've got great vision. She can do a job at left back. What player really can do all those things and still keep her head down and still be really grounded? And that's a big thing. I think a lot of the United fans are grounded, to be honest. We spoke a little bit about Heath being grounded and not ever talking about herself. I think Galton's the same. I wouldn't want to do this, Natalie, but is there ever an opportunity there where we can change a formation to get even more attackers on the pitch? For example, like a 4-4-2 or like the number 10 role, maybe, I don't know, for example, a Heath or a Russo and put press on. Is that something that you'd like to see at all? Or
yeah, if that's ever something that we're looking at, for me, I think definitely a 4-4-2. I'd put Press and Russo up there because I think as well, we're talking about Leah's left foot and the way she can whip the ball, etc. For me, I think if you could get Russo in there, further crosses of Leah, but then I think Tobin would sort of more pass to Press directly in front of her on the floor. So I think, if you could play a 4-4-2 and get them two strikers in there, or play Press 10 maybe one game and have Russo up top, the possibilities are endless. I mean, we talked at the start about strikers, and I know you talked about at New Year's strike. Are we going to get another striker in? Potentially, we could. I'm not here to speculate or say what's definitely happening, what the case is definitely doing. But potentially, we could get. Ross could go, and there could be another striker coming in, and things like that. I think you can never have too many strikers. I know people are sort of saying, "Oh, what about defense? What about this?" But for me, our midfield is stacked, and we're getting to that point with our strikers. So that's what you want to see, and to have options, because we've had injuries. We potentially will always have injuries. We're talking about red card challenges. I mean, God, the way that they let them go in the WSL, I'm not saying anything, but, we don't want Leah out. And if she is, who have we got there back up for her? So, seeing a different formation. I would like to eventually maybe one day see Press on the wing. I don't think it'll happen soon with the form that our wingers are in, but eventually I would like to see that.
I think a lot of fans out there like to see Press on the wing more because she can get involved more. That's the main reason for it. It's not the fact that they don't want to see her as a centre forward. It's just that I think one of the games early on in the season, she didn't really get much of the ball playing up front, whereas the wingers obviously saw more of the ball. So I think that was one of the reasons. I mentioned 4-4-2 purely just because obviously Lucy's out injured. If one of the other midfielders either got suspended or injured, then you might only be left with two. So instead of just forcing somebody out of position, maybe that 4-4-2 role could come in handy. One of my favourite strikers who would be in my starting 11 is Alessia Russo. Ambz, I haven't really heard you talk much about Alessia just yet. So obviously she's hit the ground running, she's got assists, she's got goals, and then she got injured. What are your thoughts on Alessia?
In terms of goal scoring, I think she's one of the best finishers we've got at the moment. She just kind of gravitates towards the ball. She knows exactly where it's going to be before it's even left the striker's foot. I would like to see her work on her ball skills a lot more in terms of running with the ball, passing with the ball and things like that. But at the moment, she has quite impressed us with the goal scoring ability. And unfortunately, she'd get injured. She was banging them in left, right, and centre, and then got injured.
To work time, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true, and I think Casey gave an interview just before the game kicked off, saying that there was injuries, and she wasn't the only one. I think Lucy was out at the time. Kirsty Smith, if it's all coming back to me, I think there was a few injuries out at the time, and I think that's the one that hit me the most, because even though we got other strikers, as you say, Ambz, she was just banged on form, wasn't she, at the time? And obviously a hamstring, and it must have been a massive problem, because I don't think you always get operations on a hamstring. So, but she's recovered. Like I say, we've seen the training pictures of her. I would definitely put her back in at the start if, obviously, Casey knows if she's fully fit or not, but she's definitely my first choice. And we have seen her out on the wing as well. So, there's no harm in playing her out wide and Press up front, or there's definitely rotations there to play around with. But where does this leave the likes of LJ, Jess, Ivana, Ross, if she does stay? Natalie, obviously, where can we get them all in?
I'm not the manager, John. I don't know. And that's why the manager gets paid. But no, listen. For me, she always says things like, "It's not the 11 players; it's game changers." And I think potentially, if you do start Press, say, and it's not working out, or even if you start Leah on the wing and it's not working out, you can then, take Leah off and put Press on the wing, bring LJ in. If you need, these are big months now. It's a big month this January, really. We've got Chelsea away, We've got Everton away. We've got Birmingham at home. And like Birmingham are not the same team that we played back then and scored 5 goals against them. You know, they're a tough team. They're going to be even tougher to break down. I think they're going to be the hardest ones, to be honest, to score against out of those two. It's just that the other two, we're going to have to worry more about what they do on the other end. But no, I think, 3 tough games. I think we're going to need, that squad, those players off the bench to come off the bench and change the game for us and, potentially win us the game. So people like Fuso, LJ, Jess, I don't think they should be worried because the game time's going to be there. Then we're going to have an FA Cup tie potentially. Whenever that comes around, there's going to be games. They're going to be needed to have their impact. So for me, currently, LJ, Jess, Fuso, they don't sort of make my best starting 11 or front 3 or whatever, but there's no way that, LJ coming off the bench isn't going to send fear through defences. So I think that's where, potentially we relied on her a lot last year. And now I think it's not her reward, but, she's 19 and so is Fuso. It's learn off it all, soak it all in and change the game. And I think it's going to be great for those two, especially to be coming on as game changers. And I know LJ will love it. Like coming on, imagine if she scores a winner. It's what you live for. Man United, man.
Yeah.
Ollie did it, so why can't these girls do it?
Yeah, I think when you mentioned substitutions, there, Casey's no stranger to half-time substitutions either. So that's plenty of game time. It's not like we're saying come off the bench for like the last 5 minutes. They will get minutes there. And I also think that we're lucky in the sense of, I could be wrong in saying this because I don't know them personally, but I would have thought Ivana Fuso would be happy to just get a little bit of game time this season and then obviously start making it around next season. That doesn't mean that she doesn't want to play. Of course she does, but I think she's young. I think she'll understand. I think with Lauren James, she was probably rushed in a little bit too early last season. She's had injuries this season. So again, she will understand. Russo, I know obviously she'll probably want to play for England and she'll want to play every bit she can, but I still think she's at the age and she'll appreciate being a part of this club with Kristen Press and Tommy Heath that she would understand if she doesn't play every game. And I think Jess is used to being anywhere and just doing anything that Casey wants of her anyway. So I think we're lucky that we haven't got 6 or 7 egos where they all want to play in that 1 or 2 positions. And I think that's credit to Casey as well, how she's managing them. Because to me, no one looks unhappy at the club due to lack of game time. So just to finish up then, Amber, obviously we decided on who like the final 3 would be. Your thoughts on Ivana Fuso from what you've seen of her against Bristol and some other games the other couple of games she played in?
Yeah, I've not seen much of her to have a proper opinion of her. But she seems fresh. She seems like she's ready to break in and have a starting role. I think that's one of the best things about having too many strikers and too many attacking options is they all want to start. They all want to get on the starting 11. They all want to score every game. They want to score hat tricks every game. They want to impress Casey. They want to impress the national team manager. So it's kind of the best headache for Casey Stoney to have is who do I start, who do I play, who's in form, who wants to score, who's best suited to this defence. And I think that's the best thing about having too many strikers.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And also, just one quick one. You know the rest of the teams more than I do, like Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Do you think our forward line is better than any other forward line in the league?
I'd say better than City's. It's been better than Arsenal's. I'd say the only one that isn't, and it's not down to the actual individual players, I think it's down to the manager, and that's Chelsea. So I think Emma Hayes has set up her strike force fantastically. And it's kind of a credit to our defence, the fact that they only scored 1, and they only scored it because they fouled Kirsty Smith. But I think potentially, if they hit that run of form and they start, instead of getting it just on target, if they start getting it in the back of the net, start getting past defenders a lot more, get past the goalkeeper a lot more, I think it could be the best in the league.
Nat, we spoke a little while ago about how many potential World Cup players, not World Cup players, sorry, world class players that we've got. We've got Ambz there who follows the whole of WSL, not just Man United. So we've got, I think we chose 10 players who are world class or going to be world class. Yeah. We've got Ambz there with a very unbiased view of saying that we've got like at least the second best strike force. We know that our midfield's class with Jackie, Toni, Hayley Ladd, obviously Lucy's out at the moment. Got some quality players there. You look at our defence as well. Okay, maybe we can strengthen the depth of it, but generally, we've got a fantastic team at the moment, and you just can't help but smile, can you?
Yeah, Casey is working miracles. I mean, it's not just miracles. Obviously, you've got Toby, and we talk about all the quality players, but she's making them play that well. She's, we're talking about players not looking unhappy, but how many players you've got, and I mean, Chelsea have a lot of world class, like before United, players that you say they're the best in the world, and she's having to keep them happy. They're currently happy, but who knows what will happen when they're all fully fit. Because I know Kirby's been out for a bit, but Casey's keeping like people like Jess happy, and like you said about LJ and Ivana, they're young, so they're gonna be sort of just wanting to play or play any minutes. But even people like Tobin and Kristen, she's keeping them happy because I think they're just playing. They're not coming in saying I should be playing all these minutes and I'm the World Cup winner and you need to play me week in, week out. No, they're just coming in, learning from her, growing as players themselves, getting a sense of leadership and a sense of autonomy. Kristen says, we're allowed to do this and we're allowed to do that. The manager gives us time. And I just think, the way everyone, not just those two, the way the whole team talk about Casey. Casey is their leader. Casey is their God. She's everyone's God. She, you do it all for Casey. You do it for the fans, but you do it for Casey as well. And she's instilling that Man United, that pride of wearing the badge, of wearing the shirt and fighting till the very last minute. And I think the last few games that we've had, ready in the game, last 10 minutes, bang, Hayley Ladd pops up, 2-1 winners. And it's just that mentality that, for me as well, it's getting a bit of that siege mentality. We're seeing people aren't really rating our players. And we're thinking, how can you not rate Leah Galton? How can you keep her out of your team? So it's that hated feeling. And they've all got it. They've all got it in their skin. And, if we can go, I mean, I don't even want to talk about the title anymore because my thoughts. And I think men and women could go and do it. And imagine that if that happened. I mean,
it could happen.
It is.
I think the advantage that we've got, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but we've got that team spirit on the men's team now that we've got on the women's team. And the men's team, not as consistent, but they are consistent at the moment. I think the last 10 games, we have been the most consistent team on the men's team now. But yeah, we've got that belief that it seems that no other club has got on the men's and the women's team now.
Listen, and I think, I'm not saying it's because of her, but I think they are very close, Casey and Ollie, and I think a lot of the things that he's saying, I can hear her saying it. It's the same kind of thing. And I mean, when he first came in, it wasn't like that. You could easily say the women's team had more belief. The men should learn from the women, but it's like they have now, and it's like it's that one feeling of both squads have. There's two teams, but it's one club, and that belief, that Man United mentality is in both now. And I think she's so highly respected, Casey. I'm not saying that she's influenced Ollie in any way, but she's probably learned a lot from him, but he's probably learned from her. And, I think, she is doing fantastic things for this club. And I just can't wait to see what the future is going to hold for both teams, but especially, Casey. She's absolutely star.
Ambz, we spoke last on the very first episode that we did, and I know that you really spoke highly of Casey. How well do you think she's done with these like big World Cup winners coming? She's dealing with a lot of big players now who obviously respect her, but she'll probably respect them a hell of a lot as well, won't she? How do you think she's dealt with this?
I think she's dealt with them as well as she could have. I mean, with the trade from Heath and Preston Nashville, she was the first one contacting them saying, are you okay about that? How are you feeling? And you can't think of anyone else that would do that for him. It would be a case of wait till they come and train and say, you're all right. the fact that all they do is gush about Casey Stoney, Tobin Heath World Cup winner, won 2 World Cups, won 2 Olympic gold medals, and still says Casey Stoney is one of the best managers she's ever worked under. You know, Kristen Press, 2 World Cup wins, still talks about how good Casey Stoney is, and I think it's just it's brilliant how much they like her, because if you like a manager, you'll stay. If you don't like a manager, your contract's over at the end of the season, you're gone. But there's potential rumours that they're going to stay an extra year. And who's to say they're not going to stay an extra year after that? You know. So I think the fact that they adore her kind of works so well in our favour and in her favour, because not only is she getting the results that she needs, she's also getting the smiles in training. There's no animosity between players. She's just fantastic. I love Casey Stoney.
Well, you're speaking to 2 people who obviously thoroughly agree with that as well. I just think you mentioned there about Press and he's staying a little bit longer. I think one thing that could potentially influence that is obviously if we make Europe, maybe. Yeah. But I think another thing, and I don't know if we're overdoing it here, but they haven't experienced the fans yet, have they? And surely they would have heard all the rumours about like how vocal our fans are at LSV compared to maybe other teams in the league. Do you think, Amber, that like that is enough to persuade them to stay the extra year just to be with the fans or play with us in Europe?
I would say so. When at her time at Portland, Tobin, all she could do was talk about how good the fans were. The fans were fantastic in Portland. The full stadiums, I think full 15,000 seat stadiums. They all had posters with her on. They were all singing. They were all chanting. And that's what she thrives off. She thrives off that sort of atmosphere. So if she could potentially play in front of the Barmy Army with all our flags, with all our chants, I think it would be the tipping point to make her stay personally. Not too sure about Press, because there wasn't much of a following in Utah vocally. There wasn't much of a vocal following in Chicago either. But I'd say he thrives off atmosphere.
Cool. Well, Amber just mentioned the Barmy Army there. Natalie, obviously, as the head of the Barmy Army, do you want to just spend this time just talking about what the Barmy Army is and if they'd like to be a member or not?
Yeah, obviously, you know, Barmy Army is the Women's Supporters Club. Ambz said it there. We have flags for all the players. We have songs for all the players. And I think that's just what it is. It's just fans meeting up at the ground like you would at Old Trafford and just singing. And I just think men, women, under 23s, you know, why shouldn't they all get the same support? I mean, you talked about Utah potentially didn't have that vocal support like Portland had, and you know how Tobin thrived off that support. And I mean, you see pictures of Portland, it does look great. It's like a big flags in the air, waving them, and you know, flares and all that kind of thing. And I mean, we don't have flags in the air because I think, you know, you don't really have flags in the air in you know, big massive flags like that where you wave in England, do you? But I think when Tobin talks about English football, it's more about the culture of it and about how it's our main sport, so it means everything. And I'm not saying it didn't, but I think that you'll see it a lot more potentially when fans are back, because it is everyone's life. It is everyone's livelihood. I mean, that's the reason why I love the women's football so much. You know, people might have seen me going about, and I mean, I've talked on this channel before about how I was in Paris and stuff. But for me, I always wanted to get back to watch the girls because you can tell how much it means to them. You can tell when everyone's shouting, you can see that extra 10% it gives them, and how they press even harder when we're there, and how they work even harder when we're there. And, you know, recently, you know, the players that are used to us, like Mary, Amy, you know, good players that have, you know, really showing now, they're just saying how different it is. You know, I saw a little video and it's Millie Turner and she's mad everyone loves Millie Turner. Everyone's seen them videos. Those videos are why you even say, "Oh, I love Millie" for all them videos.
Yeah.
Millie, I remember Mr. Millie. That's the first one over, jumping over and hugging you and grabbing you and shaking you like, "Yeah, we've won 3 points." And you don't get that in the men's. And I think Millie said the one thing that she's excited for the most of Tobin is when the fans come back and we're all buzzing off each other. And I think she knows it's just going to be mad. And I mean, I hope with this COVID, when we come back, it's going to be different. But I hope, we can still have that thing. Robin can still get her pictures with Leah. I can still hug Jess. We can all run over to Tobin, things like that. She can get her flags and scarves and, all those things. I hope, it's not, you know what I mean? I hope it's not this weirdness. I hope it's just normal. And, we can just be normal together how we are. And I think the fact that we're at every game, I'm not saying that other fans aren't, but I think we're at every game and it's always the same, whether it's home or away. And I think, she'll appreciate that, because I think if we wake up and it's 12 o'clock in London and she's like, bang, everyone's still there doing the same that they would 12 o'clock at LSV, I think she might be like, whoa, this is very real. This is serious. These people are dedicated. And if that makes them want to stay, so be it. We need to up our game. And I want more and more fans to get into LSV, because I'm talking like this. I love it. People say they can feel my passion. And, I have that passion because they've put it there. The girls have put it there even more and really ignited the love that I have for this badge a lot more. So that's my 2 pence.
And if people want to join the Barmy Army, they can do so by emailing the Twitter account. Is that okay?
Yeah. There's a link gone up today. So, check it out. Barmy Army MUWFC on the Twitter. There's Google links. So even if you can't, see it on the Twitter, just message in a DM. We'll send you the link straight away. You can get it sent back. The more fans, the better. The more members we have, the more your voice will get heard by the club. And we're pushing to make things better for everyone, whether it's travelling away, being at LSV. We need to be recognised, especially everyone who comes away, but everyone at home. And for me, it's clear that we're the best fans in the league. So let's keep that support growing.
Excellent. And before I move on to Amber and Robin about Amy Turner, because I know that you're she's a big favourite of yours as well. Natalie, there's a poll going at the moment. They're on the Twitter account on the Barmy Army Twitter account. Is it a player of the season or player of 2020?
Player of the season so far. August to December. So I know that's a bit thing, but because there's that big gap in the middle, there's that little poll. So that'll be done soon. And, we plan to get a trophy to whoever wins that. So keep your eye out on our Twitter, definitely. And, go and vote for whoever you think's been the best player between August and December for the women.
Awesome. Okay. Amber, Amy Turner then. So I know that we've been speaking about strikers, but Amy's making a lot of headlines in the fan base, and she's a good contender for the player of the season that Natalie was just on about. She played on as a right fullback in the second season, centre back in the first season. Now she's, in my opinion, the first choice centre back at the moment. Controversial, but I think so. How do you think she's getting on?
I think she's improved so much since the first season, especially now that she's back to playing centre back, because obviously McManus is injured. And you see it at the end of games where it's a scrappy 1-0 game with just hanging on, and you see her throwing a body in front of the ball. Whether it be a leg, whether it be a head, it's in front of the ball. Like, you need that sort of defensive player that cares more about keeping a clean sheet and not conceding goals than what they do about their own body. She got a cut head, was against Arsenal, and she just played on like it was nothing. I'd say she needs like a special mention. Probably won't win player of the season because she's not a striker. And she is one of those players that does go under the radar. But in my personal, very biased opinion, I think she's been one of the best defenders in the WSL so far.
Nat, I can see that you're nodding. But Amber, just before I move on to Natalie, can you ever see, like in years to come, maybe this is a bit too far-fetched, but the two Turners playing for England?
But it's an hard one because obviously Phil Neville's leaving, and he only likes his favourites. But with the new manager coming in, potentially she could bring up Amy Turner. But I reckon it'll be a case of Millie Turner and Leah Williamson. I don't think anyone's going to break that because of how young they both are and how many years they've got to work together, how good Leah Williamson is and how good Millie Turner is. I think if Amy Turner was to break into it, it would be not impossible, but improbable, I'd say.
Even if you can just get into the squad and they can both get into the squad together, then we may see them at some point, like during the second half, for like the final half an hour. The reason why I say that is because if Man United do continue to do what they're doing and they continue to be top, then obviously they will start looking at our English players a lot more. And rightly so, we can understand that. So, you know, maybe that was just something that we could be looking at in the future. Natalie, your thoughts on Amy Turner? Is she your number one centre-back at the moment regarding form?
Yeah. For me, since 2018, Millie's always been the number one centre-back for me. I think last year Millie was our best centre-back, but just this season, and I mean, not even at the start, you know, because it was Abby playing for a while, but just, you know, the City game, the Arsenal game, the last few games, even Reading, she made a couple of mistakes, Amy, but she won it back. She kept going, she kept grafting, and I think for me, Millie played so much better with Amy. Turner and Turner reunited, and I think your comment, John, about could she? I think she could play for England. I don't think she will because I think there's a lot of young talent coming through, and I think she's 29 now, 28, same as me. But you know, I think the new manager Serena will pick more on form, whereas you know Phil Neville picks his favourites, whether they're on form or not. It don't matter; they're always going to get in. Whereas I think Serena will pick more on form. So I think with Phil going, and if she can continue it when Serena's there, Serena Wiegman, the new Lioness coach, then yeah, she could get called up into the squad. But I think, you know, Millie Turner will be the centre back for the future for 5-6 years down the line. She'll be like holding that role, like you said, with Leah Williamson or, you know, Lottie Ruben-Moy, or maybe there'll be another centre back coming through, you know, different centre backs. But I think in the next few years, if Amy can break in, I think she can. Like you say, I think we'll see it more on form. It will be good to see, you know, even if it's just 5 minutes, Turner and Turner, England and United. It's what I think we've been watching all them years. Well, 2 years, and it's Turner and Turner playing at the back, stuck in your attack, and you know, we sing the song for them. They've got a flag together. You know, the Turner twins, Vidic and Rio. That's why that's what it's been talked about. And she's the Vidic and Millie's the Rio. And, you know, some partnerships are just bigger in it, you know, even if you might want to see Abby or you might get another centre-back, which I think we do need another centre-back. But I think, you know, Turner and Turner will always be that OG partnership that you love and, you know, you pine for to return. And, you know, I can't wait to see what the second half's going to bring because they need to be up for it now, bang, straight from the off. And I think they will be. It's going to be a great second half to the season.
That's right, yeah. Come to the end of the show nearly. This Thursday, we've got a special guest on. She's a journalist who works for the BBC, and we're going to be talking in a bit more detail in the kind of subjects that we've been speaking about today in regards to getting fans into the ground, about our rivals, you know, what they can bring to the second half of the season. So if you've kind of enjoyed what we've been talking about today, please tune in live on Thursday night. Not 100% sure of the time, probably about 7-ish. Yeah. So we'll sort that one out. So please join in the live comments on that one. Amber, Robin, thank you very much for joining us. If anybody wants to get in touch with you regarding our women's team, how's the best way they can find you?
Just with the Ambz SAR somewhere here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again for joining us. Don't forget, you know,
Thanks, Robin.
Natalie, thank you.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yeah, check out Barmy Army MUWFC guys as well.